components can sound like you're speaking a foreign language. Luckily, you've got a team ready to help. Grainger's technical product specialists are fluent in maintenance, repair, and operations. So whenever you want to talk shop, just reach out. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
College football fans, what's the best part of being at a game live? The color. There's nothing more exciting than seeing an entire stadium completely decked out in your team's colors. So why not add to that and put yourself right in the middle of it all? Because that color encompasses everything, from the tailgating and the fight songs to the marching band halftime shows. So let your true colors show and get ready to yell and cheer until you're blue in the face by scoring tickets today at Ticketmaster. Get tickets today at Ticketmaster.com.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown, checking the NFL scoreboard right now in the second quarter. The Vikings hammering the Packers in Green Bay 28-0. Halftime, the Bengals lead the Panthers 21-14. Also at the half, the Colts lead the Steelers 17-3. And at the half, the Texans lead the Jaguars 17-13. Late second quarter, the Bears with a 10-6 lead on the Rams. Also late second, the Buccaneers 24-7 over the Eagles. At the half, the Falcons lead the Saints 17-14. And late first half, the Jets lead the Broncos 3-0. Tonight, the 3-0 Bills play in Baltimore against the Ravens. ESPN's Jeff Darlington reports on the new Bills mantra.
Everybody eats. That's what the Bills have been talking about since this offseason. Offensive coordinator Joe Brady making sure his team realizes that everybody's going to get a chance at the ball. And that's exactly what we're seeing out of Josh Allen. In the most recent win, it took 2 plays into the third quarter for Josh Allen to hit his 10th pass catcher in that game.
Jeff Darlington coming up at 4 Eastern. We'll have coverage of the Patriots and 49ers on select ESPN radio stations. 3 teams still alive for the last 2 National League wildcard spots. The Braves have a 1-game lead over the Mets and Diamondbacks. All 3 teams play today. At the President's Cup in Montreal, Team USA leads the international team 11-7. The Americans need 4.5 of today's 12 singles points to win the Cup again.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Monday, Jared Goff versus Geno Smith. I'll tell you why one of these quarterbacks will be playing in the NFC Championship game. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Game day on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. I'm Kevin Clark alongside Justin Pugh and Mike Tannenbaum. This is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guys, as we get to halftime, a couple of scores around the league. First of all, the Steelers hit a 50-yard field goal. They're down 17-3 in Indianapolis. But the field goal we want to talk about, Mike, is the Bears hitting a field goal to cut it to a 10-6 lead. It should not have been a field goal. Tell us about it.
Yeah, DJ Moore runs basically just a go route, and he gets behind the defense, and it's one of those balls like has to be a little bit of a layered throw, guys. You got to get it up over the defender, plenty of room. You throw it to the back pylon where it's either a touchdown or incompletion, and Caleb Williams throws like a line drive, and you know, for somebody who's the first pick in the draft, they have to have more pitches in their bag than what he just showed, and those are the differences between wins and losses in the NFL.
There's never a receiver that looks angrier than DJ Moore after a ball. And that is something that may continue to boil over into the locker room. They do get 3 points, but those are throws you need to complete. When you're the number 1 overall pick, you need to lay that up there and drop it in the bucket and give your receiver an easy touchdown. That is something that will have to improve. Everyone wants to blame the offensive line down there in Chicago. Good throws, just ask Jaden Daniels, makes everyone look a lot better, including the offensive line.
We'll have more of that game as it develops. But first, we have a score in Carolina.
Bengals at Panthers.
Joe Burrow again to Zach Moss, 1-yard touchdown. Bengals lead 21-14 here. Mike, what'd you see, and what are we seeing with this Bengals team in the first half?
Yeah, huge play by Zach Moss. Joe Burrow throws the ball out to the flat. No timeouts left, guys. And if he's just touched down because he was on the ground, it would have been end of the half tied up. Huge play by Zach Moss. Truly a 7-point play to make a 1 yard, make somebody miss for a 1 yard touchdown.
It was a super competitive play. Sorry, I was just caught and I was dazzled. Mike Williams. The Jets are actually moving the ball. I repeat, the Jets have multiple first downs on a 2-minute drive. It looks like we might get some offense in that game. Let me revert back to the Bengals. It was a risky throw by Burrow. He swung it out there to the flat. Zach Moss almost went down. It would have ended the half. And, Zach Moss makes a great individual effort to get a score. But if you guys are looking for offense, tune into the Jets game right now because I think Mike Williams just came down with a beautiful toe tap on the sideline to put the Jets in. They'll be on the 15-yard line with roughly 20 seconds left. Maybe get some points here before halftime.
Every game is either at the half or with 1 minute left. I'll go through the scores quickly. They're at the half. Bengals 21, Panthers 14, Falcons 17, Saints 14, Texans 17, Jaguars 13, and Colts 17, Steelers 3. Also Bears 10, Rams 6. We just talked about it. So all the other games will have about 30 seconds to go, all very synchronized right now, Mike.
Yeah, and obviously lots going on here, but going back to the one game that's going on right now, this Jet-Bronco game, a stat you're very interested in, Kevin. Bo Nix right now is 7 of 15 for -7 yards. Aaron Rodgers has been under pressure the whole day. Give credit to this Bronco front seven. They've harassed him way more than what the stats are ultimately going to show in this game. Right now, I think they're credited with 2 sacks, but they have not let Aaron Rodgers get comfortable. But Justin's right. The Jets are moving. They're at the 14-yard line. 23 seconds to go. Jets have 2 timeouts.
It was one of the sneaky signings of free agency too. Mike Williams, you know what he can do when he's healthy. The Jets have the weapons now to really make this run. Olu Fashanu has come in and played solid at right tackle so far today, who's replacing Morgan Moses at that spot. So the Jets, I'm starting to like what they're finding on their offense right now. I just think the weather has extremely impacted this game. On cue, Olu Fashanu almost lets up a sack, so I almost just jinxed him. But the Jets are starting to progress on offense. I think if you took weather out of it, they would be having a much better day.
The Vikings, by the way, muffed a punt, and so with 33 seconds left here, the Packers have a real good chance to score. They're inside the 5. So hopefully there's some positive momentum for Jordan Love going into the half here.
Yeah, a little bang-bang play to Romeo Doubs at the goal line here.
I don't think he got in.
Yeah, I think that's right. And Aaron Rodgers just took another sack. Zach Allen from New Canaan, Connecticut via Boston College.
There we go.
Yeah.
Former teammate of mine, Zach Allen. I used to play against him when he was with the Arizona Cardinals. Vance Joseph got the defensive coordinator job in Denver, brought in Zach and paid him. Nice little spin move, got double teamed. It really was more of
Franklin Myers.
Franklin Myers. Yeah, sorry, we gave a lot of love to you, Zach, who has sacks in this game. Franklin Myers' revenge game. Franklin Myers comes in and gets a little revenge on the Jets, his former team.
Mike, how would you rate Aaron Rodgers' mobility in this game? You mentioned he was under pressure. Obviously, he had such a good game against New England. He cleared the bar we all wanted to see, but in this one, it's a little different.
I think it's been okay, not great. A couple times, he scrambled for a first down, but he's been under a lot of pressure from Zach Allen, Franklin Myers, amongst others. Credit Vance Joseph, who's done a great job. Interesting situation here, guys. Jets have 1 timeout, unlike that situation that Cincinnati was in. They're at the 20-yard line. I'm sure Denver's just going to make them check it down, but Aaron Rodgers is 8 of 16 so far for 81 yards.
It's interesting they're showing in the Rams-Bears game a compilation of Caleb Williams, frankly, holding on to the ball too long, which was his biggest problem at USC. And against the Texans, they went away from that, and they said, let's do quick game stuff. We're seeing him back there hesitant in the pocket. It'll be interesting to see, especially second half, where Caleb Williams lands on this, because he's got to get the ball out quickly. He's got to make plays. If he plays like he did at USC, he's going to get hit a lot, Mike.
Yeah, he already has gotten hit a lot. And it's an offensive line that's not very good. It's one of the places that you've seen the Justin Pugh resume floating around in the Windy City. So this is an offensive line that needs to get better. And he's holding the ball. And again, the other thing, in all seriousness, and Justin, I know you can appreciate it, but I kept watching it over and over again. He has this natural sort of tendency, guys, to escape backwards, and that just destroys your protection because offensive tackles want to push the pass rusher past the pocket. So he's holding it, and he's running around too much. And, again, unfortunately, we've seen Anthony Richardson get hurt. You do that too much in this league, he's going to get hurt at some point.
Yeah, the offensive tackles are always taught, if it's a 3-step drop, the quarterback's back foot's going to hit 7. He'll climb the pocket. 5-step drop, he'll be at 10. And that way the tackles know, hey, when I'm turning to run my guy and try to push him around the pocket, the quarterback is going to step up. When he steps out and tries to escape to one side or the other, he's flushing himself into a sack. And that's where the offensive line catches a lot of additional slack, because you can look at all the great quarterbacks. They all are going to face pressure. These defensive linemen are getting bigger, stronger, and faster. When you help them out in any capacity, it's going to compound that, and they just can't do that. The Jets ended up running it there on 3rd down to kick a field goal with 6-0 going into the half in New York there.
By the way, we're all students of football history. We love it. We respect the game. Here's the history. Bo Nix is, in fact, the 4th quarterback this century to enter halftime with negative passing yards. 7 passes for negative 7 yards, Mike.
Yeah.
What a game.
Yeah, and he has not thrown the ball well. I know I'm stating the obvious there, but he's run around. He's thrown it short a couple times. He's just been very inaccurate. I'm sure he's getting used to the weather and the wind. So it's look, it's still a 1-score game. Obviously, it's 6-0, but he's going to have to throw better. Speaking of throwing the ball better, Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers have just thrown the ball better, guys. Getting on the board for the first time. Jordan Love, 15-yard touchdown pass to Jordan Reed to make it 28-7 here at the end of the first half.
Mike, I have some great news. We're going to talk more about this Broncos-Jets game because one of the best in our industry, Kimberly A. Martin, is on the phone. Hello, Kimberly.
Hello, boys.
You're on with Justin Pugh and Mike Tannenbaum. We're going to start here. How are you even watching this game? Mike T keeps updating us, and it sounds like the grimmest thing in the world. Are you having any fun?
Well, let me confirm for you guys that this game is by no means fun. This is what purgatory feels like. It's brutal between the weather and 2 quarterbacks that you actually expected to play better than what we've seen today. Just very sloppy, a lot of penalties. So, but we have some points on the board, barely.
Kmart, I thought your hair looked good, even though you were concerned about it when you were doing your hit on Sunday morning. I thought you did a great job as usual in very tough conditions. Would you say it's Bo Nix not playing good, or would you give more credit to the Jet defense playing well?
So, he's a rookie, so you expect growing pains. Now, I talked to players this week on the Broncos, and one thing they love about him is they say he is a rookie, but he has a veteran presence. He knows where to go with the football. He's very decisive. So you expect him to struggle at times, but give credit to this Jets defense. Give credit to Robert Saleh. The best thing when you're going up against a rookie quarterback is they haven't seen a lot of things. You can disguise. You can confuse them early. But these are 2 defenses coming into this game where I thought, even before I saw the weather report, I figured it'd be low scoring, thought it would be run heavy, just because these 2 defenses, they don't allow a lot of touchdowns through the air. So far, we haven't seen the passing games pick up. Hopefully the second half will be different.
Speaking of the running game, Breece Hall, 9 carries, 3 yards. Aaron Rodgers may look like the most dynamic rusher on the Jets. What can the Jets do to get this run game kickstarted in the second half? They had a nice drive there on the 2-minute to at least get 3 points.
Yeah, Rodgers scamper is the most exciting thing we've seen thus far. I do think, the Jets' offensive line has been an issue. From just pass pro, you got to open up holes for guys. The conditions, again, slick. Guys got to hold on to the football. This is honestly anybody's game, but if you're the Jets, you have to go into the locker room and you have to reset. You have to, you've got the better quarterback. You've got the veteran team. You're playing at home. I expect them to kind of not be as conservative despite the weather. Lean on the killer bees that you have, Braylon Allen, Breece Hall. Obviously you see the trust between Aaron Rodgers and Allen Lazard. So at some point, you expect to see them connect in the end zone.
Kimberly Martin, we are hoping for some action in the second half for your sake. We'll see you soon,
for my
pal.
sake, yes.
All right, coming up, we will get to Dan Graziano. He is at Vikings and Packers, and we'll get you to all of these halftime scores.
The playoffs have arrived, and it all begins with Wild Card Week.
High fly ball. It is deep, and the game is tied.
Welcome to October.
God! Listen to this place.
Major League Baseball's Wild Card Week begins Tuesday on ESPN Radio and on ESPN. Chris Carlin, Joe Fortenbaugh. This is Carlin versus Joe.
Nick Sirianni, he was asked,
what would you say you do here?
You know, I'm letting Kellen drive the car.
He's got to stop talking. 2 rules moving forward: stop talking and stop going for it on 4th down. Even if the numbers say yes, just start kicking. Kick it every turn.
Carlin versus Joe. Weekdays at noon Eastern on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and on SiriusXM Channel 80. Mike Greenberg. Greeny.
Caleb Williams is going to be great if he gets great coaching. I don't think he has it. I am very afraid they're going to do unto him what they did unto Justin Fields and what they did unto Trubisky. He's ridiculously talented. Peyton Manning is an anomaly. For a young player to go out and struggle that much as a rookie and still manage to absorb that and become an all-time great player, that takes stuff that very few people have. Most people are ruined by that experience of all those struggles early and developing bad habits and hearing criticism and all the rest of that. And then, God help us, changing coaches after one season. That, I fear, is what is on the way here. They need to win games just because they can't make this change. Caleb Williams has so much talent, and he makes plays that sometimes you watch and you're just mystified.
Greeny with Mike Greenberg. Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Plus, you can watch and listen on the ESPN app.
No days off when you love what you're doing. Sundays are the best day of the week because you're just one day away from First Take returning Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN.
Beware the MLB wildcards. They're here to catch fire, to bring the heat, and light up the scoreboard.
This is smoked.
Because this is the MLB postseason.
Buckle up. You never know what can happen.
Where all it takes is one hot streak to make a run for the title. Welcome to October. The MLB Wildcard Series, presented by T-Mobile, begins Tuesday on ESPN.
This is Freddie and Harry.
Swagoo, what is your love mood for the Dallas Cowboys?
We on the rocks, bro. You know how when you're going through something in your relationship, you got to call your best friend so they can talk you off a ledge, and they got to make you see the other side. Like, she not that wrong, bro. Like, you gotta own up to what your expectations were, and they were out of the realm of possibility.
Check out more from Freddie and Harry weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, SiriusXM Channel 80. I'm Kevin Clark alongside Justin Pugh and Mike Tannenbaum. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Dan Graziano, one of our buddies, is on the line from Vikings Packers. Dan, what's going on, man?
Hey, guys, just watching the Vikings destroy the Packers. They just handed them 7 points at the end of the first half. But, yeah, everything else has gone their way.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. Dan, how does Jordan Love look to you?
It hurt, like playing on a bad knee, and I can't seem to get anything going. I mean, look, all week all they talked about was how important it was to get out to a fast start against this Vikings defense. They absolutely did not do that, down 14-0 before you knew it. And then from there, it has looked like he's been a guy who's not moving great. He's been under duress, and the other team is dictating the action.
Well, let's talk about something positive, Dan. Is Sam Darnold the MVP of the NFL right now?
I mean, my goodness, Darnold MVP, the O'Connell Coach of the Year. Like right now, everything's coming up Vikings, isn't it? It's it's really impressive. Look, I remember being at their training camp and talking to O'Connell about Darnold, and this is even before J.J. McCarthy got hurt, and they were so happy with how he had progressed, and you know, they were ready to start the season with him, even if McCarthy had been healthy. So they just really felt like they had a lot going on with Darnold, and he was in a good frame of mind, best situation he's ever been in, and that he would thrive. And so far, you know, through 3.5 games, that's exactly what's happened.
I thought, Dan, that it was a questionable call to bring Jordan Love back against the Brian Flores defense. It's going to be in the backfield the entire time. He's obviously going to be hobbled. You saw Matt LaFleur's frustration at the end of the half there. He seems like the angriest person in football right now. First of all, take me through that sequence. What happened there? And do you think this is just kind of boiling frustration with how bad this afternoon is going?
Well, they recovered a muff punt, and then they threw, I guess, what Matt thought was a touchdown. But, you know, they ruled correctly that Dobbs didn't have the ball over the plane. And so, Matt lost his mind. And it didn't cost him. They got pushed back 15 yards and threw the touchdown on the next play. But, I think he's probably very frustrated. Obviously, they again, all week, like they were like, you know, we're the ones that know how to play against this Vikings defense. We played against them twice last year. Like, we know what we're supposed to do. And they haven't done any of it, and they turned it over. And I'm sure that it's a very frustrating day for a guy that's a coach that's 2-0 with Malik Willis and maybe about to be 0-2 with Jordan Love.
Graz, thanks so much, man.
My pleasure.
All right, Mark. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to get this in. You know, the Georgia players have infiltrated the Philadelphia Eagles, and I wonder if they're now. Eagles are going to impersonate the
there you go.
Yeah, big play to come out to start the second half. 59-yard run by Saquon Barkley. And now the Eagles have the ball at the 2-yard line.
Speaking of MVP, Sam Darnold, we talked about him. Saquon Barkley has to be in the conversation. If there was no Saquon Barkley on this Eagles team, they very well would be 0-3, and in this game they'd be staring down an 0-4 start. He has been spectacular and worth every penny that Howie and co. has paid him.
Completely agree. And now they got a first down. They're at the 1-yard line. First and 10. Yeah.
So let's bring in Mark Kestecher. He's on the call for Patriots 49ers on ESPN Radio at 4 p.m. Eastern today. Mark, it's Kevin Clark alongside Mike T. and Justin Pugh. What's going on?
Guys, good to talk to you. Mike T., my old partner. Great to talk with you. Gorgeous day here in Santa Clara, so looking forward to this one.
Mark, you seem very jubilant. Maybe it's because you're not burdened with me today.
No, we had USC yesterday, and I think we were more, we had the Trojans' happiness leaving the game instead of the Wisconsin malaise of the second half. And they had a 12:30 kick, so we got to San Francisco at a decent hour. All good.
Lots of storylines. Can you address the updated health of the 49ers?
Yeah, good news 49ers and not so great news for the Patriots. But we just came down from the field. I walked down with Kelly Stauffer, my analyst, and Ian Fitzsimmons down there as well. Saw George Kittle warming up, so it looks like a player. Deebo Samuels is active today, so the cavalry is not going to be all the way back with Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, we don't know when he's coming back. So Brock Purdy getting two big weapons back on offense for today.
Speaking of the Patriots and maybe their lack of weapons and how they've handled the Drake May situation, will Drake May get any play during this game if it's a blowout? What are you hearing about that progression? I've heard he's gotten 30% of the starter reps during practice. Give us a little take on how the Patriots are handling this young quarterback.
Yeah, that was the word we got as well. It's about 30% of the reps. They were happy to, get him in for a series 10 days ago when they played the Jets 10 days ago in New York. I think they'd like to, potentially get him some more as it goes. But I think organically, because obviously they still believe in Jacoby Brissett, who will kind of be the table setter until Drake is ready to go. It was kind of fun to watch him kind of take everything in here at Santa Clara. Everything's so new to him. It's fun to watch it through a rookie. But I think, if they could let him sit for a while and they're going to take their lumps this year probably anyway. Probably, the best route when it's all said and done.
I think a lot of the best teams in football now use September almost like August used to be, where you're basically experimenting. You're never going to panic. Having said that, 2 bad losses already for the 49ers. And in those, they've seemed a little disjointed, seemed like they weren't themselves. Being on the field, being around the facility, is there any sense of alarm here, or do you think this is a get-right game and they're going to catch fire here soon?
I didn't sense any, but, not knowing what the future for Christian McCaffrey certainly hangs over everything. And I also think, from a defensive perspective where, it felt like this was really built a couple of years ago, not keeping Eric Armstead, with the cap move there, Javon Hargrave going down last week. That starts to take a little bit of a toll from up front. And, just getting this word, Talanoa Hufanga just came back from the ACL, rolled his ankle in practice, and is not going to play today. They just got him back last week. So I think, we often talk about the offense and what Brock Purdy's been able to do, but I think defensively, where they kind of set this whole thing up a couple of years ago, you're seeing some kind of pieces erode. I think that's more of a concern here, at least in the early part of the season.
Mark Kessinger on the call for Patriots 49ers, ESPN Radio, 4 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, Mark.
Gentlemen, good to be on with you.
All right, we will look forward to that game in the afternoon window. A couple of updates here. First of all, Rams kicker Josh Carty, 25-yard field goal attempt is good. Bears 10, Rams 9, 8:50 left in the third quarter. By the way, Taysom Hill has been ruled out for the remainder of the game.
Can we just go back to something much more important? He sounded way too positive to say, hey, I'm working with Kelly Stoffer. Like, I wanted to hear a little bit more disappointment in his voice that, Mike, unfortunately, you couldn't make it out to the West Coast. He seemed really happy and jovial.
Justin, I don't know if we're reading into it too much, but it sounded like Kesty was really, really happy to be working with Kelly Stoffer today.
You know what? All you have to do is go back and listen to our program last week and just hear how jovial and excited we were, just me and you. Mike, I don't know what you're doing. Like, I think you're almost teeing us up as this thing goes. You just want people to give you a little slack, huh?
Yeah. By the way, massive development in the Jet Bronco game. We now have offensive fireworks here at MetLife. We have a forward pass that was completed by Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos to Cortland Sutton that went for 23 yards. So we now have Bo Nix 8 of 16 for a total of 16 yards.
What a game. By the way, real quick, Justin Herbert, not much of a shock, but will be active today against the Chiefs. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. We'll catch you up on all of the early slate of games now in the second half next.
Greeny.
If you're going to start putting the over-under at number of coaches that are going to get fired while Trevor Lawrence is the starting quarterback at Jacksonville, it's going to be 2 any minute now.
Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
All right, gentlemen, this is Emmett Smith on behalf of Depend, and I've got the perfect play. Run straight to your doctor's office for a life-changing catch. Because when prostate cancer is caught early, it's up to 99% treatable, and one blood test might be all it takes. And now through November, Depend is donating to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for select purchases. Talk about a great play.
From September 1st to November 30th, Depend is donating 40 cents to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for Depend Shield Guards Real Fit products purchased in the U.S. up to a maximum of $300,000 void in Mississippi.
This is an ad from BetterHelp. As kids, we were always learning and growing, but at some point as adults, we tend to lose that sense of curiosity and excitement. Therapy can help you continue that journey, because your back-to-school era can come at any age, and BetterHelp makes it easy to get started with affordable online therapy you can do from anywhere. Rediscover possibility with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/teamwork today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/teamwork.
If you're a facilities manager at a warehouse and your HVAC system goes down, it can turn up the heat, literally. But don't sweat it, Grainger has you covered. Grainger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products for all your operations, including warehouse HVAC maintenance. And even better, they offer access to experts and fast delivery, so you and your warehouse can both keep your cool. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
I'm tired of all the excuses for Joe Burrow. Oh, the defense let Joe Burrow. No, Joe Burrow let Joe Burrow down. Great stat line. Oh, it's amazing. He's had all of these touchdowns, no interceptions. But what did you do when the game was in the balance? You know the answer is it's not enough. You know how I know it's not enough? Because your team doesn't have a win.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday mornings starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2. Amber and Ian.
Every week, we catch up with our good friend Lance Taylor. LT, you were describing to us during the break that you're dealing with what kind of a medical issue?
I wouldn't call it a medical issue, but I've got a restless leg right now.
What is restless leg?
I don't know what it
I've
is,
never
man.
heard of
It's
this.
like my right leg just won't calm down.
Is it any relation to the stanky leg that I'm aware of?
I don't know about stanky leg.
Amber and Ian. Weeknights at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on Sirius XM Channel 80.
Noon Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown, checking the NFL scoreboard. First in a game available on select ESPN radio stations. Third quarter, the Buccaneers lead the Eagles 24-14. These are all third quarter scores now. Falcons lead the Saints 20-14. The Jets have a 6-0 lead on the Broncos. The Vikings lead the Packers 28-7. The Bengals have a 28-14 lead on the Panthers. The Colts lead the Steelers 17-3. Texans are up 17-13 over the Jaguars, and the Bears lead the Rams 10-9. At 4 Eastern, we'll have coverage of the 49ers and Patriots on select ESPN radio stations. 49ers wideout Deebo Samuel is active today. He was out last week with a calf injury. San Francisco fullback Kyle Juszczyk on the team's 1-2 start.
By no means is there panic. I don't think we're sounding the alarms or anything. But we're also not just sitting back and expecting things to come to us. So I think it's just been a good working environment and guys pushing each other and just trying to be as ready as possible for our next opportunity.
Kyle Juszczyk on ESPN Radio's Football Sunday Countdown. Baseball's regular season could end today, or the Mets and Braves might have to play 1 or 2 games in Atlanta tomorrow. All dependent on the results of today's play. The Braves have a 1-game lead over the Mets and Diamondbacks, but only 2 of those teams can get a wild card spot. WNBA semifinals, 3 Eastern on ABC. Game 1, Aces and Liberty.
Hi, this is Evan Cohen. Join us Monday at 6 a.m. Eastern for Unsportsmanlike. Was the Heisman Trophy wrapped up this weekend? And if so, was it done by a defender plus Alabama's monster victory over Georgia? Should they be number 1 in America? Monday, 6 a.m. Eastern, Unsportsmanlike, ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
This is Game Day on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
Game Day rolls on. I'm Kevin Clark alongside Justin Pugh and Mike Tannenbaum, catching you up on all of the news from the 1 p.m. slate of games. Guys, we want to talk a little bit about this Eagles-Bucks game. Chris Godwin looks unstoppable. It is currently 24-14 Bucks over Eagles, but the Bucks are driving, Justin.
Yeah, Eagles came down and got Saquon Barkley got them down to the 1 or 2 yard line, back-to-back tush pushes to score and cut the lead. The Eagles were making a comeback. The Bucks have responded. They are now first and goal, driving, and it's just been Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Baker Mayfield scrambled to pick up a third down, so he's continuing to show off that mobility. It really is a breath of fresh air to see a guy like Baker Mayfield, who was playing scout team defensive line for the Carolina Panthers, now to find this resurgence down here in Tampa and have some success this year so far.
And I think that's such an important point, guys, when you talk about, like, hey, where are we with, fill in the blank, Caleb Williams, Anthony Richardson. Like, it's just a very good reminder that it doesn't happen overnight. These are really difficult positions to play, and especially given the complexities of defenses. So, as we see Caleb Williams make another bad throw in the red zone. But it's a great reminder that quarterbacks develop at different rates.
By the way,
Well, then if you were a team out there looking for a quarterback next year, and you're the Minnesota Vikings, what do you do with Sam Darnold? Because obviously J.J. McCarthy, you're going to pay him big money.
I think you just do what you can to try to keep him because I think depth at that position is so important.
But does Sam Darnold want to stay in that scenario? I mean, that's the big question. I mean, like Sam Darnold could be, if he was given a spot with the franchise desperate for a quarterback, he could be in line for a massive contract, which wouldn't be the case in Minnesota probably.
Yeah, I think that's right. But again, if I could keep him at a reasonable deal, maybe a Baker Mayfield deal, I mean, how much more money do you think someone's going to pay him?
That's the question, because quarterbacks are making $60 million a year right now. I'm wondering if Sam Darnold could get some fully guaranteed money, maybe get in that $30, $40 million a year range. I mean, if he continues the pace he's on, there is no way that the Vikings are going to be able to keep him without breaking him off for probably $50 million a year.
By the way, as we shouted out Chris Godwin, Mike Evans caught a pass inside the 10. And just a reminder of, like, when we talk about making a quarterback's life easier, having one Hall of Fame receiver and one perennial Pro Bowl receiver is a pretty good place to start. So the Bucs are doing something right, especially the way they've done the lines. Like, Baker was on my show a couple of months ago, and he was talking about how he learned from Cleveland and then Tampa Bay, there's only certain places set up to help the quarterback, and Tampa Bay is just one of those.
Yeah, and then Bucky Irving, a name that we didn't think just crosses the goal line to get in for 6. And it helps when you have all of the things working. And Tristan Wirfs has been a stalwart at that left tackle position. But you're right, when you can throw it up to Mr. Consistency, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, it does help the quarterback position. And I would, you're probably a little nervous to follow in the footsteps of a guy like Tom Brady, but Tom Brady's not going to go to a place that doesn't support the quarterback. So if you actually are a backup quarterback, it might be a good place to go and follow up Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. Right, it looks like that's under review. That play might be coming back. It might not have been a touchdown by Bucky Irving here in Tampa.
All right, we'll keep you updated on that. We have a touchdown in Chicago.
Rams at Bears.
Mike, you mentioned the bad Caleb Williams red zone play a couple of plays ago. Well, finally, a good one, a 9-yard touchdown pass to DJ Moore. It is 17-9 Bears, Mike.
Yeah, really good throw. He hit DJ Moore at the back of the end zone, small window. He's out 13 of 19 for 114 yards. Bears are up 17-9, so still one-score game from a Ram perspective. Caleb Williams, though, has been under duress the entire game. This Ram front seven with some young players led by Jared Verse, their first-round pick, has gotten the better of the Bear offensive line so far.
And I really like what the Rams are doing on defense. Now, look, you lose Aaron Donald, but I love Verse coming out. He's played well. You have Fisk that's up and coming. Yeah. Kobe Turner that's up and coming. The Rams have the pieces. I just think they are so decimated today. If they can somehow find a way to pull off a win and come back against the Bears here in the second half, the Rams, if they'd be sitting at 2-2, everything will be out in front of them. Seattle's 3-0. They're playing on Monday night, but the Rams would still have everything out in front. And I would not be a team that would want to play the LA Rams late in the year. And if the Rams have potential to win some games and maybe make the playoffs, I wouldn't also be surprised if maybe there's a call out to Aaron Donald and say, hey, would you like to come back and maybe go on a playoff run? Maybe Aaron Donald will put the pads on for a few more games.
Real quick, Matt Gay missed a 55-yard field goal for the Colts. He is 0 for 3 this year from beyond 50. It's only him and Justin Tucker missing 50-yard field goals. Everybody else is automatic from that range. So the Colts come up empty on their drive. I believe they're still up 17-3. We have a score update, and it's not what you think in Tampa Bay.
Eagles at Buccaneers.
Okay, Justin, you mentioned the Bucky Irving 1-yard touchdown. That stood. The extra point was blocked and run back for a 2-pointer. That is under review right now, but if it stands, it is 30-16, and the Eagles get 2 points. It's Keely Ringo down the right sideline. Speaking of those Georgia guys, Ringo is the guy who intercepted Bryce Young to win the national championship 2.5 years ago. If it stands, it's a 2-possession game. It's an important play there, Mike.
Yeah, and they get the ball back, and obviously then it's a 2-touchdown game. So this is far from over. And as you said, Kevin, that play is under review, but could be a meaningful.
It looked inbounds. It did not.
It does look inbounds. They just showed a close up. It looks like he's in. It would take something out of the frame for this thing to get overturned. That's great for the momentum for the Eagles.
Yeah, it kind of be like Virginia Tech having a touchdown overturned to win a game, something like that, right?
That was not
that was the craziest call I've ever seen in college football. Kev, I know you almost had a heart attack with that one.
So my wife was watching the game with me, obviously, and it was a 6-minute review if you watch it live. And she told me she spent the entire 6 minutes trying to think of a way to console me if it wasn't reversed. And she didn't come up with anything, thankfully, but she didn't need to find out. But yeah, so that was the mood in our house on Friday night.
Yeah, it was a wild weekend for college football, starting obviously most notably with that game. But boy, again, that Georgia-Alabama game was maybe one of the best sporting events I've ever seen. And for Georgia literally come back to have the lead for about 10 seconds. And by the way, Ryan Williams can't even vote in this year's presidential election. He won't be 18 until next February. Made a play for the ages. So again, waiting to see what happens here in this Eagle-Buccaneer game. But if that play is upheld, the Eagles are still in it. They're only down 14 points here with plenty of time to go. 6 minutes and 49 seconds left in the third quarter. So much football left to be played here.
Sam Darnold intercepted by Xavier McKinney, by the way. Xavier McKinney, 4 interceptions in 4 games, 6 in his last 5. That is superstar-level play, and we see it again in Green Bay. So
I played with Xavier McKinney last year in New York, and you knew he had the instincts. He's a young, ascending safety. He was probably tuned into that Alabama game, watching the 17-year-old Ryan Williams make plays, and he's like, you know what, let me go get an interception of my own and show what Alabama can do on Sundays. And he is, making Green Bay very happy. That defense has to step it up if they're going to be able to make a comeback in this game.
We have, speaking of comebacks, we have a score in Houston.
Jaguars at Texans.
We spent all week talking about Trevor Lawrence, saying this franchise hit rock bottom. Okay, Trevor Lawrence hits an 8-yard touchdown pass to Christian Kirk. It is 20-17 Jags, Mike.
Yep, you nailed it. Christian Kirk, high-priced free agent from a year ago. Nice, just runs a little bit of an out route at the goal line, gets in for the touchdown, gives Jacksonville a much-needed score to take the lead. Again, Trevor Lawrence still been, to my liking, a little bit too much up and down. Missed a deep throw earlier in the half. He's only 15 of 24 for 161, but he does have the 2 touchdowns. 2017, 6:16 left in the third quarter. Houston about to get the ball.
That's the one thing with this game that was a little surprising is you felt like the Houston Texans were dominating the game, and then you looked up at the scoreboard, and it was 17-13, and the Jags were right in it. Despite Lawrence not hitting all of his throws today and being a little bit inaccurate with the deep ball, he did have a nice deep ball down the left side to Brian Thomas Jr., that LSU receiver, for a 32-yard completion to really spark that offense. And shout out to Christian Kirk. He's been a little silent during this season. He was a high-priced free agent, came in. He has been very good in the slot for the Jags in the past, and it's good to see him get back into the swing of things with the offense.
Yeah. And by the way, just jump around here, guys. That 2-point play was upheld, so Philly did get the ball back. They're down 14 points. So obviously important drive in the game, but great play by Kelee Ringo to return for 2 points for the Eagles.
So maybe you're right. Maybe it's those Georgia guys going on a little run here. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
So Kevin, that means you should take the Buccaneers win this game in overtime.
Exactly right, on a late interception. Real quick, Deontay Johnson, by the way, briefly went down in Carolina. He jogged off, but it was in clear discomfort, so we'll keep you updated on that one. That is not an injury Carolina wants to see at all. But yeah, so we'll keep you updated on all of that and the entire 1 p.m. slate. We'll also get a check in Chicago. Bears lead 17-9 heading into the fourth. This is Game Day on ESPN Radio.
From the first pitch of the wild card.
The pitch. It's a total different atmosphere. This is the best part of baseball.
He's done it again! Until a World Series champion is crowned.
The Texas Rangers are World Series champs.
Hear every pitch of Major League Baseball's postseason. Wow! Right here on ESPN Radio.
If you have ever thought about remodeling your bathroom but were worried it would take too long or cost too much, then stop worrying. Right now, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has designed a collection of high-quality custom products and perfected the one-day remodeling experience so you can enjoy your new bathroom faster than ever before. It's a worry-free bath remodel from the most trusted brand name in the business, Jacuzzi. A jacuzzi bath system fits in your existing tub space. It's a no-mess installation with an amazing style selection, factory-certified installers, and a limited lifetime warranty. Call 800-717-4599. That's 800-717-4599 right now and get 50% off installation with no interest and no payments for 12 months. Replace that old bathtub today with a walk-in shower for a safer bathing experience. If you have lived in your home for over 15 years, it's time to remodel your bathroom. For a virtual or in-home appointment, call 800-717-4599. That's 800-717-4599. 800-717-4599.
The Baseball Tonight Podcast.
I think the Atlanta Braves, if they don't make the postseason, they'll look at this year as generally being a success.
The Baseball Tonight Podcast is on the ESPN app or wherever you listen to podcasts.
How are you? My name's Scott Van Pelt, host of SV Pod. Along with my partner in crime, Stanford Steve. What do we talk about mostly on the podcast, Steve?
Sports.
Some.
Parenting?
I feel like that comes up a lot. I feel like most recently I've needed some help because I feel like my shortcomings there are evident. It's life stuff, relatable content.
It's fun.
It's just two bald-headed goons just talking about nonsense a lot in a crowded podcast space. There's that one.
We're here.
Here we are.
Hey, it's Greeny, and Bama does it. Their domination of Georgia continues. Does this mean we should just put the Crimson Tide into the playoff right now? We'll talk about it Monday. It's Greeny, starting 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go, fish dad.
Oh, come on. This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
How are you? My name's Scott Van Pelt, host of SV Pod. Along with my partner in crime, Stanford Steve. What do we talk about mostly on the podcast, Steve?
Sports.
Some.
Parenting?
I feel like that comes up a lot. I feel like most recently I've needed some help because I feel like my shortcomings there are evident. It's life stuff, relatable content.
It's fun.
It's just two bald-headed goons just talking about nonsense a lot in a crowded podcast space. There's that one.
We're here.
Here we are.
I've been a runner my whole life.
I survived the New York City Marathon.
But a few years ago, my life went off script in a way that I didn't see coming. I was diagnosed with epilepsy.
You just toppled over head first.
Because of that, I had to do something possibly absurd, try and outrun a horse. 50 miles against a horse. I got this. I'm Nicole Teeny, and from ESPN and 30 for 30 podcast, this is Girl v. Horse. Search and follow Girl v. Horse in your favorite podcast player.
Hey, it's Michelle Smallman, and coming up Monday, I'll tell you why a loss to the Titans will end the Dolphins' playoff hopes. Plus, we're going to get you ready for the MLB playoffs. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Amber and Ian.
Some of the best sushi you could ever have is in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
It's not hard to make good sushi. If you make rice, it's sushi. It's rice rolled with fish, and I love sushi. Throw in some vegetables, and bam, slap a little cream cheese on it, a little avocado, you good to go.
A little cream cheese on
Throw a jalapeno on top of color and zing, and boom. I mean, you got good sushi.
Amber and Ian, weeknights at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on Sirius XM Channel 80.
Monday, Carlin versus Joe. Alabama pulls off the upset and remains unbeaten with a huge win over Georgia. Plus, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Sunday Night Football. It's Carlin versus Joe. Monday, noon Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Game Day on ESPN Radio is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. I'm Kevin Clark alongside Justin Pugh and Mike Tannenbaum. Give us a call on the Dr. Pepper call-in line for news from Game Day Nation. 888-729-3776. Guys, it is all popping off here in the 3 p.m. hour. We just saw a strip sack. Jalen Hurts gives it up to the Bucs. Justin, when we're talking about Lane Johnson being out, some of the craziest on-off splits and maybe in the history of football, we knew offensive line might be a problem here. But this one looked like Hurts was holding on to the ball too long, and eventually the Bucs got to him.
Look, I hate to say I told you so, but it's nice that one time I say something and it comes back to fruition. When you're without your all-pro, first ballot Hall of Fame right tackle in Lane Johnson, it could come back to bite you, and it did just there. Jalen Hurts always holds on to the ball too long because he has such a good offensive line. So he's used to sitting back there behind those guys, being able to look through his first, second, third reads. And this time it just came back to bite him. And that has been a trend of Jalen's throughout this young season, where he has struggled to take care of the ball. He has struggled to make good decisions. I don't think it was a bad decision. A guy just got beat. That's part of the football world.
And a big development in the Bronco-Jet game. Best throw of the day by far by Bo Nix. Through on a 3rd and 11 through a 29-yard pass. Great throw to Cortland Sutton. Yeah, great throw by Bo Nix. And then on the next play, guys, pass interference for 14 yards against Michael Carter. We have a bona fide Denver Bronco offensive drive going on here at MetLife.
43 yards in 2 plays, Mike T?
Good Lord. Let me get my abacus out to verify that.
So just so everybody knows, this is via Next Gen Stats. He is the first player, Bo Nix, since they started tracking, so that would be 2016, I believe, to not have any successful plays, which is just basically a positive play, in the first half of a football game. He did not throw a complete pass beyond the line of scrimmage in the first half, and now all of a sudden we get a chunk play and a PI. They are cooking there in Denver.
It looks like the rain is subsiding a little bit, which is allowing them to scramble around and make some plays. And on cue, there is a flag down in this one, and there's probably a holding taking the Denver Broncos.
No, it's actually offsides on Will McDonald, so it'll be 1st and 5 for Denver. And another game that's tightening up, albeit a little slightly, is this Green Bay Minnesota game. Yeah. Green Bay just gets a big sack on Sam Darnold here. So now Green Bay, Minnesota's out 3rd and 25, 28-7, 7:57 to go in that game.
Score games all over the place. Indianapolis is only up 17-10 on the Steelers, and we have a score in Chicago.
Rams at Bears.
Kyron Williams, 3-yard touchdown run for the Rams. It is still 17-15 Bears. 2-point conversion there failed. That's obviously massive. What'd you see, Justin?
This has been a great response by the LA offense. We mentioned Matthew Stafford, and Matthew Stafford we trust. The Bears have their first touchdown drive of the day, and, well, I guess second, but first real touchdown drive. The first was off of a turnover. And the Rams come right down the field. Matthew Stafford has a 16-yard completion, a 25-yard completion. And then Kyron Williams is one of those diamonds in the rough that the Rams found last year alongside Puka Nacua, and he plunges in from 3 yards out. They don't get the 2-point conversion, but we have a ball game in Chicago.
So Caleb Williams has it at his own 30, 1st and 10, trying to put together a drive against an interesting Rams defense. And you mentioned, Justin, earlier, Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. What the Rams were doing in the draft is they knew that Aaron Donald cannot be replaced. Do not try to replace Aaron Donald. What they wanted to do was they thought, if we take 2 rookies who have instant chemistry, and both those guys are from Florida State, they play next to each other in Tallahassee, they understand how each other plays, that maybe we could go a little bit with chemistry towards replacing Aaron Donald in the aggregate, which I thought was an interesting strategy. And over the past couple of weeks, we've seen it really pay off. I think that Verse has been, at times, a game wrecker, and Fisk looks ahead of the rookie curve for a second-round pick.
Yeah, when you look at Jared Verse, he actually was a transfer to Florida State, and I'm a Syracuse guy. I was hoping they would – he was at Albany. I was hoping – or Buffalo, right? Albany? He was at Albany. I was hoping Syracuse would get him, but he goes to Florida State. He popped on film. I think Liatu Latu was the best pure pass rusher, but Verse did it all. And you would see him and Fisk, the defensive tackle, running games at Florida State, and they're now doing that with the Rams. They run a lot of twists. They run a lot of stunts. And then Kobe Turner, a rookie last year who had a few sacks, he looks dynamic as well. They're young, they're figuring it out, but again, it was a great plan to replace Aaron Donald because they know how dynamic he was for that team.
Fisk was also a transfer from Western Michigan. So, by the way, between Khalil Mack and Jared Verse, Syracuse is missing on Western New York pass rushers here.
Don't worry, we're going to get them back. Our NIL is getting it all figured out. We're cutting checks up there in Central New York now.
It's been a long time since Dwight Freeney. We need another Syracuse stud pass rusher.
Chandler Jones, come on now.
Oh, there we go. Oh, I stand corrected. Real quick, big update. Brooks Cabina from The Athletic just tweeted, Jalen Carter is limping off the field, grabbing his right thigh every other step. That's obviously massive. The Bucs have started to drive and move the ball. There was a huge chunk play I saw to Shepard. We will keep you updated on that. We will also keep you updated on the Falcons hitting a field goal just now, 42 yards, to go up 23-17 on the Saints.
And we have a touchdown by the Denver Broncos against the New York Jets. Pending the extra point, they'll take the lead. Looked like the Jets blew a coverage. Cortland Sutton got open in the back of the end zone, guys. The Jets were playing zone and just dropped the coverage.
Yeah, you look at the defensive backs, they're making hand signals. What I love about defensive backs is if there's an incomplete just because the receiver drops the ball, they're celebrating. If someone scores on them, they always do the look back, like someone was supposed to be there. I wish as an offensive lineman I could do that too, but it's too obvious who gets beat on with offensive line play.
Wow. Real quick, via Zach Berman, Jalen Hurts has lost a fumble in 3 of his last 4 games. He has 27 turnovers in his past 22 games, Justin. You mentioned holding on to the ball too long. I think, and we see this in college sometimes, you hold on to the ball because you can. And you can at the college level, and normally you cannot at the pro level. But as you said, the protection has been so good, he's learned to play a certain way. It just feels like to me he needs to speed up his process in games like this.
100%. But what's tough about Jalen Hurts and what's on his plate now is Jason Kelce is no longer there, and he's no longer handling the protections. So Jalen Hurts now is getting up to the ball, having to survey the defense, having to make the right protection calls and get the offensive line on the right people, and then he has to go out there and make a play. So there has been more put on Jalen Hurts' plate this year, and that's what you expect. You pay a guy that much money, you expect him to be able to handle that. He's going to continue to get better. There's no doubt that Jalen Hurts puts in the work and he can do everything, but it has to happen sooner than later before the Eagles find themselves in an insurmountable hole. Luckily, they're in the NFC East right now, and no one really has distinguished themselves as a front runner. Maybe the Commanders look like the best team right now in the NFC East, which is crazy to say.
They can do one thing well. They can push the ball down the field, which there are certain teams in that division you can't say that about. Okay, we teased a Caleb Williams drive, a statement drive, and now we have a score in Chicago.
Rams at Bears.
DeAndre Swift, the most unpopular guy in Chicago over the past couple of weeks because of the lack of the run game, has scored a 36-yard touchdown run. It is 24-15 Bears, Mike.
Yeah, great run by DeAndre Swift. Broke a couple tackles and then showed that outstanding speed that he has. So gives them a 2-possession lead now with 12:26 left in the game, 24-15. And, boy, you talk about developing a rookie quarterback. You know, when we had success with Mark Sanchez at the Jets, we had a great running game, great offensive line, and that allowed Mark to develop slowly. And I think, as I think about Matt Eberflus and how you get Caleb Williams going, get DeAndre Swift going, that's going to be a rookie quarterback's best friend.
Yeah, they ran a nice zone scheme there. DeAndre Swift actually hurdles a defensive lineman. Great job by the offensive line. Rome Odunze was in there blocking a safety, and that's how you spring those long ones for touchdowns. So good job by the Chicago Bears. We have a barn burner out here in Chicago. I didn't think we were going to be seeing the back and forth scoring, but we have 3 consecutive drives with a touchdown. Can Matthew Stafford and the Rams stay in this game? Stay tuned to find out.
It's going from bad to worse. I mentioned the Jalen Carter injury. He is leaving into the locker room. He has been their best player in Philadelphia over the past couple of weeks. The stuff he's put on tape for a guy who hadn't popped maybe in the way we thought after the early part of the season last year. He looked like a game wrecker in September of last year. Second half of the season, not as consistent. For him to leave and go to the locker room would be a massive blow, Mike.
Yeah, he's a difference maker when healthy. We saw it last week, so hopefully it's nothing too significant, but definitely an injury we'll need to monitor during the week.
Last year, playing against the Eagles, I actually thought he was their best defensive lineman, and it was Fletcher Cox was still figuring out where they were going to fit in. And you were happy when Jalen Carter was trotting out off the field on third downs because of the veteran was making him come off. He hasn't looked like that same playmaker to start this season. Last week, he showed some flashes. He showed up late to a meeting. He didn't start in the Sunday night game against Atlanta. I think it was Monday night, actually. So there are some things that he has to get corrected if he wants to be the player that the Philadelphia Eagles need him to be.
There were people around Philadelphia, Justin, who thought he was the best defensive lineman in camp during his rookie year. That's all you need to know. Jordan Love's return is not going the way the Packers had hoped. Plus, our Monday night preview and everything in the Week 1 at 1 p.m. slate next.
Greeny.
Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels have the skills, talent, have everything it takes to be great. We throw these kids out there to sink or swim Week 1.
Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
Are you ready to make a difference for the environment while helping the visually impaired at the same time? Then donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind today by calling 1-800-983-6530. Every donated vehicle will either be properly recycled in an eco-friendly manner or given a new life through reuse. Donating your vehicle is easy. Simply call 1-800-983-6530 and Heritage for the Blind will do the rest. They'll even arrange for your vehicle to be picked up at no cost to you. And for a limited time, when you donate your car, you'll receive a $200 restaurant voucher and a 2-night, 3-day hotel stay at one of 50 locations. Call 1-800-983-6530 right now to schedule your vehicle donation and make a positive impact on the environment while helping others. Heritage for the Blind, where every car donation counts and every person makes a difference. Call 1-800-983-6530 now. This advertisement is paid for by Heritage for the Blind.
If you're a facilities manager at a warehouse and your HVAC system goes down, it can turn up the heat, literally. But don't sweat it, Grainger has you covered. Grainger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products for all your operations, including warehouse HVAC maintenance. And even better, they offer access to